Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Falling Water. So let's start it off with Burton's side of the story. At first, he's kind of talking. Well, first he kind of looks at a picture and ends up finding out, yep, the lady from his dreams definitely went to that place. And he starts talking to Tess's mom, kind of having a session of sorts, which, this episode just kind of emphasizes I don't like Tess's mom because it's hard to say where she lies in everything. Because it seems like she's more and on a more antagonist side of things rather than being on anyone's side, because it's just like the fact of the matter is she's manipulating Burton in the episode, being like, you claim to love this woman and everything, but it's like, how do you know, like, so what if you ended up finding out in a dream that she actually had a husband and that you were just kind of a side piece essentially? And he's like, well, I know it was a dream. She's like, okay, then what if you find out it was reality? I mean, how do you know she doesn't have one? He's like, I would know. She's like, would you really? And then pointing out the fact is, you see that little bit of fear in your voice is just kind of like, I don't know, she's nitpicking. It's it seems like she manipulates people. I mean, as we can tell, she manipulated Tess. She's literally had Tess think for years that she was crazy about the whole thing about her son, knowing damn well. It's like her mom is neck deep in this, and it's like, it's hard to say whether or not she's really trying to be a good guy in it. To me, this episode just proves more so that she is a bad guy, because she's had multiple opportunities just simply to tell Tess the truth, but it seems like she's just sitting back and examining Tess. It's just kind of trying to see what Tess is capable of. Like, maybe that, because it seemed like even this whole Burton side of things, it seemed like it was more so a test to locking him up and everything. Then they ended up in that dream area where it's like, they're on a plane. She pulled him off the plane. It's like, the plane's crashing. He's like, we got to do something about it. And she's like, we're powerless. There's nothing we can do. He's like, no, we got to do something. And then basically for a split second, it looks like he rewound the dream a little bit, like almost like some of his power was leaking out or whatever. But then he kind of wakes up from it and then starts talking to her. He ends up in the room where it's like the lady's always typing her stories or on her typewriter and everything. And she's like, look at all these books. Can you tell me a title from the book? Can you tell me her middle name? Like, has never even mentioned her name at all. So it's like he doesn't know. And it's like, tell me the perfumes that she named. It was the names of the perfumes that she used. It's like, you can't even tell me these small details about her. There's this person that you claim that you love, that she's your everything, that you will walk through fire for her. But it's like, at the end of the day, you really don't know anything about her. You're in love with the thought of her. Like, because for him, this entire time, what the season's kind of been about. It's like conflicted. As in the beginning, he thought she was real, but then it was like, finding out that she wasn't real, that maybe she was all in his dream, that's all she was, that she was a construct he made up, and now finding out she's a real person. It's like you've almost like bashing him is like almost you've been so back and forth not being able to tell whether she's real or not, and you've been holding on to her, but as a person that you really don't know, you're in love with the idea of her. That's all she is. It's kind of saying, basically going back to almost being like she's just an idea that you created to kind of fit the mold of the perfect woman. And it's like almost going as because essentially she kind of showed him what she went through, kind of dropping her pretenses. He's like, okay, I want to know what happened, and kind of went back to that night. And it's like, she's like, here, and they're coming, and it's basically they showed you it happened to Burton in a dream, but it was showing what happened to her, and it's like, and that was pretty rough. Obviously, what happened to Burton was they stripped him down or torturing him, show him like blasting bright lights in his face, and then putting a towel over his face and kind of pouring water on him to kind of simulate drowning. All that for the purposes of just, that's what you could only, that was the point of that, showing that it was happening to Burton, but so he could feel and see what actually happened to her, and that's what they did to her. That's why she's in the state she's in, kind of like looking like she's beaten down and broken, like her spirit's been broken too. It's like they did that to her. I can only assume it's because she's a journalist / reporter, and it's like they were trying to get whatever information they could get out of her. Like, first of all, like, how much does she really know? How much did she figure out? Plus, who might have been her source? Because someone had to tip her off about this whole Topeka thing. So it's probably also about that. But it's like, because the fact is, Tess's mom knows where she was. She pointed Burton in the right direction in a dream and everything like that. I mean, it's like, but she's like basically telling Burton he has to find the answers on his own, and it's just like I don't like it. Like I said, like it's an episode that even more so than anything, it makes me hate Tess's mom even more. I already didn't like her because of the whole situation. She's manipulating Tess, her own daughter, and doing this to Burton to make him almost give up on her. It's like, oh, just let her go. The fact of the matter is, there's no such thing as fate. You both came here thinking like, oh, you were destined to be together. That it's fate. It's like you're two random people that ended up running into each other at a bar. That's all there is to it. This isn't like some deep romantic love story. You're just two random people who found each other. That's all there is to it. Stop holding on to her. Just let go. But Burton refused to. And because of that, like, she talks to him and hands him the flyer and it's like, look for the boy. He can save both of us. So, like I said, if I could, middle fingers to Tess's mom. Like, it's just, I don't like her because because she's one of those people who knows maybe not everything, but probably close enough. She's kind of in that situation where she knows a lot, but she hasn't told anyone about it. And it's like, I'm trying to understand, because she said a line to Burton. It's like, go through the hole and everything. And Burton's like, I don't trust you. She's like, you're probably wise not to do that. But like, the thing is, we would do anything for the people we love. Now, was that her not just talking about Burton's situation, but our own? Like, the fact is that everything she's doing for the sake of her daughter. Like, I mean, let's not forget she does have two daughters, but it's like, it seems like all of this is focused on Tess. I mean, because it does seem like Tess is special with this whole dream world and everything. Well, Topeka, because that's what this whole dream world is called and everything. So it's like her connection to it and everything. So I guess Sabine doesn't really have that ability and whatnot, but it is something that it seems like she kind of shares from her mom. And it seems like, because the whole point is Tess and her son are special. Her son is special in this all because he's the key to everything. But it also seems that, Tess has a lot of powers. And maybe that's the big reason why Tess's mom studied her for so long, for so many years, because it's like Tess's mom could do stuff, but it's like not until she saw Tess and saw what Tess was really capable of is the reason why she really dived in. Because the reason why she gave up on Sabine, because it was like, oh yeah, like, way back a couple episodes back, it was like Tess talked about the fact is that her mom did it a little while to Sabine, but then she stopped and focused mainly on Tess, like around the time Tess was like 10 or something like that. And that has to be the reason why, because she saw that Sabine didn't have the potential, but saw that Tess did. So I don't know, just like when it came to her mom, this episode just left a sour taste in my mouth. It just kind of like, I don't like you. Like, maybe at the end of it, we'll find out that you're actually kind of a good guy, that you're trying to lead them on the path. It's like, but the fact is, it's got to be one of those situations where they have to kind of unlock their powers and they have to find the answers on their own to make sure that this is the path they want to go down. No one can push them to make the choice. They have to make the choice themselves. Maybe she's playing like an advisory role or something like that. Maybe that's what we'll find out. But for right now, I really just don't like her. On the flip side of things, you have Tessa's side of the story. They end up basically following the trails, basically about the pictures and everything, and it kind of leads back to essentially to Belgium, which we find out in this episode. Apparently, he killed himself. He hung himself specifically, and not really sure why, but he did. I mean, maybe it's connected to the boy, connected to all of this. Kind of the same reason why the dude from the first episode ended up killing himself too. Is just whether someone got inside of his head and pushed him to do it, or whether he just did it himself. It's hard to say. Or whether someone just straight up killed him in the real world. So many possibilities. Like I say, because we never really got 100%, because it hasn't come back to it, but we still don't even know about the whole Andy situation. Because I wonder, is that what... I'll kind of go ahead and skipping around a little bit, like the whole Woody situation. Maybe that's something he wants to tell her about, like, about the whole the Andy situation. Maybe Woody wants to tell her about the Andy situation, because that's something we've never kind of trailed back to, because Tess is still in the dark about what happened to Andy, because we haven't really actually had that sleep group together again. It's been a while, like since Tess and the others kind of went into sleep thing for Bill and everything. So it's been a while. The last time like any dreaming happened with anyone was Bill and Tess, and that was the episode that Bill kind of did that weird thing. So I don't know whether that was just him having a special power. It was like his head, like there was multiple like after images of his head and stuff like that, where the guys with no faces were chasing him. She ended up seeing her son in that one building or whatnot. So, but I'll kind of get to that a little bit. But right now it's like, because to me, things are suspicious with Bill. Like, I'm going to go right ahead and say it. Like, thank goodness for Woody, because Woody left that note for Tess being like, yeah, don't trust Bill, he's not your friend. Which I was like, thank you for someone else supporting what I've already felt. I felt suspicious of Bill since the first episode. I didn't trust him. Literally interpreting that whole bus dream to me, that whole bus dream was all I needed to be like, yeah, I don't trust Bill. I haven't trusted him since the very first episode. And it's just like, even more so later on, because you find out, like, you see all these reasons why not to trust him, because it seems like he's got his ulterior motives to doing this. I mean, which everyone does. But the fact is, he's trying so hard to keep Tess. It's like, I would drop everyone else to group. I just need to keep you. So it's just, I don't know. Plus, the fact of the matter is, he apparently has that connection to the firm that Burton works for, the same firm that was making the deal for the minerals, which is connected to the boy, because that's what that deal was really about. So it's like, that's why that's another reason not to trust him. He even got to the point, like, the fact is that I was like, when Tess is actually, so yeah, so I'm running into someone I know, because he ended up bringing up in this episode, like, how she knew Woody. It's like, apparently they've known each other, like, they were childhood friends, not necessarily childhood friends, but they go way back. Like I said, I must have missed the last episode. I didn't really catch what their relationship was. I thought, like, oh, significant other in the past, or she kind of refers to them as just friends, or maybe they were just friends, or maybe there was something more. Nevertheless, I'm an idiot and I missed it. If you do know the relationship, do let me know in the comments down below, because I legitimately just kind of missed that. And I don't mind being corrected about stuff that I might have missed or misinterpreted. So, but essentially, she tells it, and I'm like, why are you telling Bill this? Don't tell him that Woody's telling you not to trust him. And he's like, oh, well, so how do you feel? And she's like, if I didn't trust you, would I be telling you this? I'm like, Tess, what are you doing? I was like, okay. I was like, okay, so maybe this is all a little ploy. Maybe Tess already had her meeting with Woody and she's just playing Bill right now. I was like, oh, no, she didn't have her meeting with, and Bill's like, oh, I can go along with it. She's like, no, don't, because there's part of her, like, having her suspicions. Like, the reason why she brought it up is because I guess in some shape or form she wanted to be able to kind of ease her doubts, but I'm sure he kind of raised them a little bit more. That's why she's like, no, I'll meet with him by myself. I don't need you to come. He's like, hey, take the phone. And I was like, when you go meet him, just call me, that way I can listen in. It's like, oh, well, what did he say about me? Why not to trust me and stuff like that? He's asking too many questions. It's like, I don't know. I guess it's arguable. You could say, like, it's okay, it's right for him to ask questions because this guy's telling you to doubt me and stuff like that. But it's like, I just don't like, I mean, we really don't know what else went through that conversation after Tess left the room between the guy at the firm and Bill. Like, I mean, in the beginning, because they seem like they have a tight enough relationship and stuff like that. So it's just like, I don't know, it's too connected. It's my point. Like, everything is connected. The fact is that that's where Burton works at, and it's connected to Tess's son, and it's connected to Tess, and it's connected to Bill. It's just, there's too many damn connections there, and it just, I don't know, it just bothers me. But at the very end of the episode, we do see that Tess does kind of, like, she decides to meet with Woody, but she leaves the phone in the car. So meaning, like, she doesn't trust Bill and she's going to talk to him. So I'm very curious to find out what Woody's got to say about it. Because Woody's kind of not necessarily turning over a new leaf. I mean, especially everything that went down last episode where, wasn't Elizabeth shot him, so it's just kind of like, everything he's done with this whole Topeka situation has kind of come back to bite him in the ass. I think legitimately he did it because he did have feelings for her, but she was already married and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, I have an affair with her in real life. We can just have one in a dream where you can have her love you. And the fact is that kind of have her want you. And it's like, it makes you wonder, did he mean for those side effects of her kind of like it messing with her in reality too? Maybe he only meant for it to happen in a dream, or maybe it was a purpose for it to work in reality too, just because, like, maybe he was hoping that he could change her mind and make her, like, without realizing he's messing with her dreams, make her go like, okay, I'm leaving my husband, I want to be with Woody, I'm in love with him even though I'm not really in love with him, and kind of going on inception and implanting the thoughts in him and everything, in her Elizabeth and everything. So maybe he is trying to turn over a new. I mean, obviously, like I said, that's another thing too. Like, the fact is, Woody's connected to all this, and the fact is that he knows Tess. I mean, who's to say Woody doesn't have a connection to Tess's mom too, because she's neck deep in all of this stuff too. So, I mean, really, that's the thing. Like, the show, you don't really know whose side anyone's on. Like, the only people's side you're certain of is Taka, Burton, and Tess. They're the only ones whose side you're really certain on. Everyone else, it's like, I don't know where either side could go. But I'm very curious. Like, the thing I was bringing up earlier was the fact is that, well, actually, I don't even remember what I was talking about earlier now, so that point is kind of muted at this point because I don't remember. I remember I talked about it a little bit, and I was going to try and come back to it, but I don't remember what it is now. So, oh well, it's too late now. I'll probably end up when I'm editing through this, kind of running back through it to make sure everything's okay. I'll probably remember it, but like, oh, that's what I was. But nevertheless, moving on. Like I said, just it'd be interesting to see what Tess is going to find out. I almost like forgot the white room that she was in. That was kind of an interesting place. Essentially, it wasn't it sound like it was a weird room. The white room where basically everything, all the sound sounded like almost like someone was muffled, like they were like all the sound was being muffled by water, almost like if you were trying to scream underneath water is what it kind of sounded like. And there was that device that kept the room like that. And the moment Tess smacked it away, like all the sound returned, and she ended up finding her son in the room, and she started beating on the glass. And as he's about to turn towards her, she wakes up because she brought it up to Bill, the fact that she kept feeling like she's right there close to her son, and like she kind of almost feels him right around the corner, but every time she kind of catches up to him, it's like he's hiding away, or rather someone's hiding him from her. So but maybe all this stuff with her son is also a ploy to get her too. Maybe they need her. I mean, I feel like if they needed her, they would get her before now. But who's to say? Like I said, because I feel like Bill's neck deep in all this. So who's to say Bill doesn't end up like maybe everything he's doing, helping her find her son and everything, is because like I said, I think Bill might already have her son. Especially considering the fact is that he has his dealings with this group already. So who's to say he doesn't? He's not a part of this as well, part of this dealing. Who's to say that, this whole thing was to get Tess to awaken some more of her powers so that she could be there to help push her son to use his to kind of change everything. Like I said, the group that fake Anne-Marie Bowen is working with, the Green Sneakers, their kind of philosophy and their thoughts on this whole situation, it seems like it kind of coincides with what Bill wants, because it's like he's looking for something. It seems more specifically tied to his twin, whether it's like trying to find her in all these dreams, or is it trying to get back that feeling that he's never been able to get towards anymore. Maybe like the only way he could access this dream world of Topeka is through Tess, and he needs her son for it too, to kind of create this dream revolution, essentially this dream utopia. Kind of tying it in with Taka's side of things, where Taka ends up talking to Anna, which Anna, is very like still mourning about what she did in that dream, killing that guy that was connected to the Belgian, that she was she killed him, and it's like she didn't think it was going to hit her as hard as it did. But he's like, death kind of hits everyone. It's like you can't escape that. Like there's no like being okay with death. It sucks. And it's like, it's going to be with you, essentially. I mean, Taka didn't go that far, but that's kind of what I'm kind of inferring. It's like the fact that she thought, it's like, oh, she believes she was on the righteous path of doing what she needed to do because it's like the right thing in this grand scheme of things. Because apparently he's a green sneaker. I mean, when we ended up seeing the Belgian, he was wearing green sneakers too. So obviously that's all connected, along with Woody and the other group. I mean, that whole firm and Woody are connected to the green sneakers as well. Which all of this kind of pissed Sabine off, because she's like, in her mind, she's like, oh, the fact is, because at first Taka's like, the fact is, I'm trying to get to her and her people because they said that they can help me with my mom. And she's like, oh, your mom who's had no progress, like over the past couple of days. Like, part of me, the problem with Sabine is she's too, like, because she's coming at it from a doctor's perspective, because she's treating Taka the same way she treats her sister as just someone that's crazy, because it's like, oh, your mom's in the condition she's in. It's like she's not being sympathetic. She's not being like, oh, I understand you care about your mom, but she's just like, your mom's stuck in that situation. You're a bit fat idiot for thinking otherwise, that your mom's going to be okay, that some people can help, and you're crazy. So she's treating him like that. And on top of that, she's like, oh, you tried to get to Anna, and you got through to her through me. It's like, oh, so everything between us was fake. And he's like, no, it's not. She's like, no, you're just using me to like get close to Anna, to get close to this group. Don't lie to me. And just that was kind of the last time we saw it. But it's just kind of like Taka is trying to make things up with her, but the whole situation kind of pushes Taka to be like, you know what? No, screw this group. He's like, you know what? Screw fake Anne-Marie Bowen. I'm arresting her. Locks her up, start asking questions. Even brings up the fact is the person Anna killed, and she's like, that was in a dream. The fact is you don't have any proof of that actually being our fault, from versus the dream world versus reality and whatnot, and she basically almost kind of psychoanalyzes Taka, being like, the fact of the matter is, you're like this. The fact is, you got such a deep wound in your heart. You're so powerful, but you can't do anything with that power. And the fact of the matter is, you're so alone. Like, you have such a big heart. You feel so much, but you don't actually have anyone to love. You're all alone. And as we see that conversation happening, like they're in an interrogation room, and she pulled him into a different place, kind of in the dream world. But Taco's like, no, no. And then he pushed him back into the interrogation room, and you see the look of shock on her face. She's like, looking around like, what just happened? How did you do that? Because the thing is, I think Taco ended up being a lot stronger than she thought. Like, she knew he was strong, but didn't realize just how strong, because it was like, it didn't make sense to her, because it's like, how did he do that? Because like, previously to this, it was like, she knows that Taco was able to bring his mom into like the dreams and whatnot, but it was like, anytime it came to the dreams, she was able to infiltrate his dream and kind of pull him along. But it's like, this time, like, she was trying to push him and pull him along, but he pushed back, and it just kind of caught her by surprise. She tried to act cool and calm afterwards, but it seemed like it didn't really rattle her. So that was kind of interesting. And then you take Anna trying to make things better. She gets Taka to talk to his mom. She stands beside his mom and starts talking like, she's kind of talking like Anna's mom. Taka's mom is kind of talking through her. And as they're talking, eventually Anna stops talking, and it's just purely his mom talking to him. She explains the reason why she left, because essentially she was sick, and she's always been a powerful dreamer, and she just kind of pushed herself deeper and deeper into her dreams. Like, it was essentially her, instead of just being there in reality and facing everything, she just wanted to run away, because it was like, for her, in her mind, it was like she was doing Taka a favor, because she didn't want Taka to do essentially what he's doing now, taking care of her for the rest of his life, putting his life on hold just for her. She wanted him to go forward and enjoy his life, to live a life, because she did everything because she loves him. And the fact of the matter is, he's like, how is this happening? Is she doing this? It's like, no, she's not doing it. And saying like, is Anna doing this? Like, no, Anna's not doing this. You are doing it. She's like, you gotten so powerful. And it's like, I've been waiting for this. And it's like, okay, because tying this in with a little bit I saw with the preview, because what a little bit I saw was, you hear Taka's mom being like, you gotta find the boy. So now everyone initially already had, Taka was kind of already on that path a little bit, but now his mom's pushing him on that path, and you have Burton kind of being pushed on the path, because he already knew about the boy too, just because of him being sold and everything, and being part of the mineral deal and whatnot. But now it's like, okay, now the lady from his dream is telling him, like, go is the only way of kind of saving both of us. Plus, Tess is already there, trying to track down her son. So we're closing into that moment where all three stories kind of become. Really, not technically, really, all the stories have always been connected, but it's like the space separating them is getting thinner and thinner, and it's like finally showing you just how well connected everything is. What I'm thinking is, maybe, just maybe, whether it's the Green Sneakers themselves because it still feels like Fate, Marie Bowen, and the Green Sneakers are still manipulating Taka, that are using his mom as a means, because they don't have the kid anymore. The point is, they're trying to get the kid back. So now that I'm thinking about it, to my last knowledge, they still don't have him. Maybe they got him back. I don't know. So that might mean Bill isn't with them, because there's just so many different groups. Maybe there's certain cells that, the cells kind of act independently. There's no like hierarchy leader. If there was, maybe you could look at it as either Bill or Taka's mom. I'll kind of get to that. The fact of the matter is, who's to say Bill isn't the head of another cell, kind of essentially like the fake Marie, like how fake Anne Marie Bowen leads this one, the one that Anna's part of, the one that's trying to talk to Taka, and what if Bill leads another one that's trying to talk to Tess, and what if there's actually another one, the one that had Woody in it, that was actually trying to manipulate Burton. Maybe they're all connected to three different cells, essentially. Like, their lives are affected by three different cells, essentially. Maybe. But the thing is, I'm thinking, like, what if everything has been about manipulating Taka and their purpose, and they're trying to use his mom to do it? Or what if we end up finding out that his mom is actually behind this, too? That the fact of the matter is, she's trying to manipulate Taka, her own son, into finding the boy and using his powers and the boy's powers to do everything, kind of create. Maybe she's actually a Green Sneaker herself. I don't know. There's so many possibilities. Really, hopefully we kind of get some answers to all that. These questions I'm going to bring it up next episode. So But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good